I'm calling because I have only been married about 3 months, and I pulled our credit reports, and I found that my new husband has almost $100,000 in back child support.
Oh, stop. Stop. Everybody go get your tea. Hurry, hurry. Come on. For those of you who haven't gotten your tea yet, go get your tea. This is going to be good. Go get your tea. I'll wait. All right. So, been married all of 90 days. That's barely the amount of time. In some companies, it's not even enough time to pass the probationary period. And she's already figured out that the man she has married is $100,000 in debt. Now, she did it by pulling the credit report. So I know you're thinking what I'm thinking. Are we thinking the same thing? Why didn't they pull the credit report before they got married? What caused her to think that she had to pull a credit report after they were married and not before they were married? Kind of makes you go, something happened in that 90 days that made her go, I think we need to pull a credit report. And then, from what I can tell, and again, we're only 20 seconds into the tea here, okay? We're only 22 seconds in, all right? Minus the introductions. Something happened to make her go, I need to pull this credit report. But it happened after they got married, right? Not before they got married. Hey, my potential future mate wants to see my credit report. I'll pull it, whatever, I don't care. I got nothing to hide, okay? But something happened. This is going to be good tea. Get your tea or your tangerine juice. Here we go.
Oh, dear.
Hold on.
That my new husband has almost $100,000 in back child support that he owes.
Oh, dear.
And I don't know what to do. I
know what to do. This is not hard, sweetheart. You hand him the report, okay? Get the story from why he didn't tell you, and then decide if you still want to be married. I can tell you that. We're not even 30 seconds into the video. That is a hell of a lot of money to owe. I would want to know why, and why he didn't tell you. But I really, really want to know, even more than that, is what happened in 90 days that made you want to pull the credit report after you get married? What red flag all of a sudden appeared?
I pulled our credit reports because I wanted to get on the baby steps and first to buy a house and, do all the regular things that people do. And I don't know. I'm stumped with this. I have no idea where to begin.
Was this discussed before you got married? I want to go on the Dave Ramsey baby steps. I want to, we're going to need to pull our credit report to buy a house. Were these things discussed before you got married? Or was it after you got married? You decided you wanted to, pull credit reports and buy a house.
My goodness. Does he know that you know this yet?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he does not know. He does not know. What do you guys say?
I'm sure he does.
Which is the answer for no, he doesn't know. She didn't go to him and say, hey, honey, I'm pulling the credit reports because we want to get our house. Right?
Because he knows I have the credit report, but he hasn't said anything.
Oh, my.
And I don't even know what to say to him.
All right, so here's what we got to do. That music means we've got to go to a commercial break.
Oh, commercial. Boo.
But we're going to put you on hold. Hang with us, Tasha. When we come back, we're going to dive into this.
Before the break, we were on the phone with Tasha,
and Tasha's thinking about getting an annulment, and she's been married 90 days. Because she just found out the man she married owes $100,000 in back child support. Now, here's the thing. Let me make the record clear here, at least on my POV, okay, point of view. It's not that he owes $100,000 in back child support. Yeah, that's a lot to, that's a pretty big thing to swallow. But really, it's the fact that him not telling her in advance didn't allow her to make a decision as to whether or not he was the right person for her. Okay? It was him not saying to her, hey, love of my life, I owe $100,000 in back child support. Not, I owe $100,000 each month in child support, which if he can pay that, he's doing apparently very well, okay? I owe $100,000 in back child support. That means I have a child with the woman I'm no longer with, and I have denied that mother payment to support the kid. He didn't allow the new wife, okay, and I don't know what number she's on. She could be wife 2, 3, 4 for all I know, okay? But regardless of that, it's not even the $100,000 in back support, although I think that would have many people already running for the hills. But let's put that aside. It's that he didn't allow this new wife to make a decision on whether or not, one, was he still the right man for her, and if she determined that he still is the right man, they did make a game plan on how they were going to catch this up. All right, and that's where the problem is he denied her the right to make a fully informed decision about whether or not she was, going to be agreeable to the situation, this relationship. It'd be like me marrying somebody and then not telling them I had, oh, by the way, I have $110,000 in student loans. And then them going, holy cow, well, they're kind of what's your life plans. Whereas if I had told them up front, hey, I have $110,000 in student loans, going to be with me till the day I die, well, now that's a totally different story, right?
Was informing us that recently she was blessed to get married, but unfortunately she found out that her husband owes about $100,000 in back child support. And so we didn't want to rush through that call. We asked her to hold on.
Oh, no, can't rush through that call. We got lots of tea to drink. Please take your time.
So we can really dive into deeper in here.
Yes.
So we can help her out. So Tasha, I got...
Because nosy minds want to know. I'm just being honest, all right? Come on, guys.
a quick question for you that I'm curious. Actually, a couple of questions. Number one, was this within the last 24 hours? Was this recently that you pulled the credit report and you had and you found this information out? And then two is, did he mention this at all? Did he try to hint to this at all before you all got married, that, hey, I owe some child support or I'm paying child support?
Perhaps present a baby buggy with a piece of paper that said $100,000 written on it. That might be clue one.
Well, the credit report I did get within the last 24 hours. It was yesterday. I knew he owed child support, but I was under the impression it was nowhere near this amount.
Hold on. Let's back up here. Not defending the guy here. Okay? But I am going to say, she says, I knew, but I was under the impression it was less. Now, let's clear things up here. Did he make sincere attempt to tell her, look, it's a very large amount, it's in the 6 figures, yada, yada, and she just chose to hear what she wanted to hear, and it was only after they got married she decided, okay, I'm really ready to sit down now and listen. In other words, is it possible, I'm playing devil's advocate, is it possible that he did to some extent try to tell her, and maybe her response or reaction was, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It could be $1 billion for all I care. You know what? I just want to get married to you. Now, does that excuse him not sitting her down and saying, look, I got $100,000 in back child support. See, that's the part that concerns me. It's the back child support, because that gives a lot of messages. That tells me you perhaps have not been fiscally responsible, perhaps due to, your own hand, due to a string of bad luck, whatever. Okay. But that tells me that somewhere, $100,000 is a lot, especially depending upon, the monthly payment amount. If it's like, okay, well, you're supposed to pay $25,000 a month. Okay, well, that's different. And to some extent, not really. But that would be different than if you were ordered to pay, $2,000 a month. Okay, it's how many times that's dividable by 100,000. So let's just assume, this has obviously gone on for years. That would be my suspicion. But is it possible, just playing devil's advocate, that he tried to tell her, okay, she kind of blew it off, saying, oh, honey, it doesn't matter. We will work. Our love will take care of it all. And he took that opportunity to go, okay, well, you see, I tried to tell her. It's kind of like each side can hear what they want to hear. All right. She kind of blows it off, and he goes, well, she's not going to be talking about it. Well, neither am I going to talk about it. All right. It doesn't excuse him. Okay. Doesn't excuse him not telling her. He should have still told her. No matter what her reaction was, if they had brought it up.
And that a portion of it had been forgiven. But apparently that is not the case.
Okay.
Honestly, this should all be sorted out before you get married. Child support is just an area that, you got to get that stuff sorted out. What is legally responsible to your child? I wouldn't stop marrying a man even if he owed back child support. Like I said, it might not have even been the back child support that was the issue, as much as it was he kept it hidden from her, so it didn't give her an opportunity to decide, was this the right relationship? And it didn't give her an opportunity to be involved in a very important aspect of his life to help him through it. In other words, she might have stayed. Well, I don't know if she stays or not. I don't know. Okay, but let's say she wants to leave, because I think that would be the reaction of most women, just seeing it from a woman's point of view. I find out 90 days later, you owe $100,000 in back child support, and depending upon your, the household debt to income ratio, I could see where this could lead a lot of women to go, never mind, honey, we make $40,000 a year, and I'm going to toil away for the next several decades. Because don't forget, it's not just the child support that he owes in the back. I'm assuming it's also current child support that is owed too. So probably the only thing worse than a $100,000 student loan is $100,000 in child support. You cannot go bankrupt on either one, but the child support is worse only because there's another life that's depending on you for so many years, up to the age of 18, respectively. There's another life depending on you. That's the only reason I think child support is even worse. But some women would stay, but they would just want to have known about it.
Okay. All right. So
I was under the impression that it was about 20 or 30, and that he had paid 75% of it, and that the other portion was forgiven.
Do you guys have
So he lied to her, supposedly? I mean, that's just a bold-faced lie.
joint banking?
Please tell me you don't have boink. Oh my goodness, Saturday night. Please tell me you don't have joint banking. This is one time where I think joint banking would be absolutely horrendous, because if I'm correct, and I don't have kids, but if I am correct, okay, just like with student loans, the government can tap into any checking account with the social security number of that debtor. And it does not matter who that debtor is attached to. If that debtor is on that checking account, they can pull it. I know they can do that with student loans. That's why if you're married to somebody who owes student loans, okay, especially if they're in default, they're behind, you do not want to keep the same checking account. You don't want to keep the same checking account, because if a student loan borrower is in default and the government chooses, they can go straight into that checking account. And it doesn't matter if the innocent party, okay, is attached to that account. They're pulling anything and everything they can. That's if you're in default.
We do not.
That's a problem.
No.
And
That's a problem. That's a problem. I got to hear this.
that's a real problem, because this is why you didn't know about it even any sooner than this. And the other problem is you told us before we went to the break, you guys haven't even spoken about it. So I asked you if he knew that you knew, and you said, well, he must, because he knows that I pulled a credit report. So that means if that's in fact the case, you guys are walking around avoiding each other. The tension's got to be so thick you can cut it with a knife. Am I right?
No, it's great. It's the best news in the world that they're not attached. He owes $100,000 in child support. If they were to combine into one checking account, now you put the entire family's monthly budget at risk. So long as they keep it separate. If she decides to stay, I ain't gonna judge whether she stays or goes. That's her decision to make. Okay, only each individual party can speak for themselves on that. But if they personally, I think she should leave it. I don't know, but that's just me. Okay. But if they decide to stay together and she joins with him, holy cow, the state can come in and wipe out the entire account. Well, there goes your entire cost of living for the month. given to the state for back child support. You tell me that's not going to make somebody bitter in the relationship.
Right?
Well,
Okay,
little
it doesn't matter.
he knows there's something wrong. Yeah, because he's asked me several times today.
Yeah,
Are
you're
you
showing
okay?
it.
Are you okay?
Yeah, and what have you said?
Really, nothing.
Okay.
They've been married 90 days. Okay, if I had a stopwatch, let's see, this was 2 years ago, they're probably divorced today. Not celebrating that in any way, but yeah. 90 days and you're this far off in communication.
All right,
I'm avoiding it. Yeah, pretty much.
Tasha, this is when he comes home from work. You guys, it's everything is on hold, and you got to sit down and share with him what you know. And we've got several things going on here. Okay, he has lied to you, and you aren't addressing this right away. You're kind of trying to sit on this a little bit. We got to get this out in the open. It is.
She's probably in shock. She thought she married a guy who was $20,000 in debt minus some change. She thinks they're getting ready to get a house. All right. She's just supposedly pulling credit reports. Just, okay, I'm going to pull your report. I'm going to pull my report, yada, yada. Okay. I mean, so she's probably a little bit in shock. She may need a breather to be able to figure out how she wants to deal with this. I'm not sure it's something that is easy as just sit down and start talking about it. She needs to do that, and needs to happen soon. But what she really needs to do is, first thing, figure out if she wants to even stay or go.
This is what it is now, and you weren't told the truth, and you guys have separate bank accounts, which means you guys are not truly unified. And
which is a good thing at this point. If he's really thinking, okay, look, I think this is Ken. I try to keep all of them straight. There's Ken, there's Jade, there's John. Okay, I think there's a Rebecca in there somewhere. I'm not quite sure. Okay, I think this is Ken. Here is the bottom line. If Ken is saying that, hey, the first thing you should do is combine your checking accounts, that's the dumbest advice I personally have heard on the Dave Ramsey show in ages. Okay, no. She should absolutely not combine accounts, even if they decide to stay married. At this point, they need to protect her income from being garnished. They need to protect it. Because should the state, and I don't think it's a matter of should, but when the state starts tapping into those checking accounts, they're not going to give two rips as to who the innocent party is and the guilty party is. It's just like with student loan debt, okay? If you and your spouse are both on that checking account, it doesn't matter if I'm the one that owes 110 and I'm in default, and then my spouse, is on the account with me. I can't go to the student loan people and go, oh, but wait a minute, you were only supposed to garnish mine. It does not work that way. So the best thing this couple can do, or especially anytime one is in a debt to the government or at risk of having their checks garnished, their tax returns taken, keep that crap separate. Keep it separate. File your taxes separately. Keep your bank accounts separate. Because you heard it from Ken's mouth, okay? They can keep your tax return. And guess what? If you have filed tax returns together, they're taking the entire thing. So truly some of the dumbest advice I've heard yet. And I don't say that very often about this show, but yeah, when one person is in debt and the other one is not, you do not combine those accounts. I would never combine it, even if I wanted to stay, even if I stayed, and I would do it to protect part of the household income, and that is the only reason I would do it. No other reason.
Really, really nasty thing that's got to be dealt with. It can't be swept underneath the rug anymore. And so it's time to get this all out. And
you can get it all out, keeping all your finances separate until such time that they are under control and you feel like you can safely merge them again. When the threat, when the looming threat of the government or a creditor or an employer doing automatic garnishment is over.
We'll tell you that marriage counseling is a piece of this as well. We've got to get this fixed. We're 3 months in. And
honestly, if you're doing marriage counseling after 90 days of stuff, call it over. Done. Okay, if you're already sitting in the therapist chair because you've been married, I mean, you're not even married for a whole season of Empire. Okay, I mean, please. You know that show on Netflix.
And this affects you financially as well.
And here's the thing,
Right.
Tasha. I think when you
And notice they're not bringing up if they combine their income. Yeah, it's going to affect her huge. They could wake up one day and the entire account is wiped out. Their entire tax return is taken. Her portion too. Protect the family income, as much of it as you can, if you're going to stay and make this work.
when you sit down and talk to your husband, I would try to find a way to just to find clarity, because here's the concern that I have. Okay, whether it's 100,000 or 10,000 or 5,000, it's you're not supporting your own child, and then that's to me that's more important than $100,000 that you don't want to support.
See, I think I was saying that earlier. That's the reason this is worse than student loans. Okay, is because somewhere along the line, somebody who was relying on you, your kid, forget whether you like your ex or not. That to me is irrelevant. It's that if the child is suffering in any way, that's where the problem is.
Support the human being that you brought into this world, and so I would have that conversation before the money, because
And that should be a sign on how if they choose to have a child, he might be dealing with her. I will link the video that I did. I think it was just yesterday. Guys, I'm getting to the point where I do so many videos, I can't remember what day. But it was like in the last day or two. And I did it on, three wives, 3 kids, 1 with each woman, has married the 4th wife, has 2 kids with her, unemployed, and lost his driver's license because of back child support, okay? So she should be watching really carefully here, because clearly she's wife number 2. We're assuming.
do you two plan on having kids?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Especially now. If they were thinking about it, they're not now.
I'm older. Well, we're both older.
Okay. Sounds
And,
good. Sounds
I guess
good.
not much older, but we have adult children.
Yeah, I agree with Ken. I agree with Ken. You two have to get to the bottom of this, but I also, I'm not a woman, so I can't say this, but I'm like, I would want to know why. If that was my brother, why are you not taking care of your responsibilities?
I would want to know why he didn't tell her up front. Hey, I owe $100,000. Well, I think I know why. I think we all know why. He's afraid she would say no. He was afraid she would say no to the marriage. Okay, I think that's something a lot of women would say no to. I could even see a woman overlooking, $100,000 in credit card debt. I could see a woman overlooking. Well, we'll just work on it. $100,000 still, we'll work on it. Oh, I owe $100,000 in back child support, because what that spells to some extent is negligence. And if you could be negligent with your own child, then how might you treat me? Okay, it's the human factor that is hard to overlook when it's past due child support. Okay, and we're not talking, the dad who's just a few months behind, needs to catch up a few bucks. Okay, when you're talking $100,000, we're assuming this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. That's what makes child support, I think, the worst debt of all. I'd rather hear you say you got $100,000 of student loans.
Because now that makes me
Right.
concerned about us together.
Exactly.
Is your husband gainfully employed, or is he just scraping by?
Yeah, we both are employed and make about $35,000 to $40,000 a year
Both of you together or individually?
each individually.
Good. That's excellent. So that means they need to keep their accounts separate. Okay? Live off her income. Use his income to catch up that child support. That's what I would do if she decides to stay. Makes her one hell of a woman if she decides to stay too, because I think a lot of women would not stay. I think most women would not stay, which is why he didn't tell her. If he really did tell her 20,000, he knew it wasn't no 20,000. Nobody accidentally says, "Oh, it was 20,000. I really meant 100,000." Okay, we might say 20,000. And it was, 26,000. Okay, give or take. Okay, but nobody mistakens a 6-figure debt to a $20,000 debt. It just doesn't happen.
Okay, so let's call it $75,000 to $80,000, somewhere in that range. He's going to have to deal with this, and you're going to have to make him deal with this. But I'm going to tell you where it starts.
Which right there is a problem to me. When you have to make your spouse do it, you know, I want to marry a man. I want to be married to a man, not a kid. Okay? I don't want to have to tell my husband, I need to sit you down like you're a high school student, and I have to make you do it. You know what? You can't make people do things. And that is something at 56 years old I will never, ever, ever spend a day of my life trying to do. I will never make a man try to do something. It's a waste of my time. Okay? It's a waste of time. So whenever I hear, well, you need to sit him down and you need to make him, no. Nope. I don't want a kid to take care of. To me, that is just romantically unattractive. If that's where our relationship is at, especially at 90 days, that is romantically, that is unattractive to me. This is a family channel, so we will use appropriate words to express certain thoughts and visions and all of that. That is just romantically unattractive.
It starts with no longer are we having separate bank accounts. There's no more secrets.
Dumbest advice ever. The dumbest advice ever. Keep those accounts separate until the threat is over.
He has violated trust with you. Now, I do believe that he can be forgiven. I think he should be forgiven. But that's if he repents and acts in a way that would allow you to truly give full forgiveness. But we've got to move forward on this.
And she's got to be able to move forward without any sort of grudge. In other words, this is 4 times, 5 times the debt that she was planning. Is she going to feel like I'm now having to suffer because of something you didn't tell me? If she can't get over that grudge, if she truly can't forgive, if it's going to be, you know, he's got to hear about it for the rest of his life, about how you screwed me over, you did me wrong, we were only 90 days married. If she can't, you know, go, if they can't go gung-ho into this together, should she choose to stay, okay? If they can't go gung-ho into this together, do the sacrificing together and everything else, and she's going to hold any sort of grudge, all right, now, later in the future, then she needs to walk away from this. Because it's not, even though he was dishonest about it, it's not fair for her to say, okay, I'm going to stay. They worky to get out of this. She sacrifices, okay? And then they finally get out of it, and now she's more bitter than ever. She holds a grudge over it and then holds it over his head. Can't do that. You can't play, and women sometimes do this, and I don't think it's fair. You can't play both sides, okay? You can't tell someone, hey, I'm going to stay, I know the situation, and then worky to clean it up. And finally, it's all done, and then you hold a grudge for forever. Well, 10 years later, well, we would have been able to go on that trip if you hadn't, if we hadn't been paying your stupid $100,000 in back child support. Okay? If she can't avoid that, then she should walk away. I'm trying to figure out why my mouse, all my computer stuff is supposed to light up on my deck board. And sometimes oh, there it goes. Okay. Sorry, little side brain there.
And he's got to take care of this, and he's got to step up big time.
At this point, it's a we thing. It's no longer a he thing if she chooses to stay. We have to take care of this, okay? And then when this is done, if we want joint checking accounts, whatever. But right now, that's the least of their concerns. But can she stay? Can she forgive? And can she do it without holding a grudge? Maybe a grudge is a better word than vengeance, I think.
And you've got to lay it out there and say, we're not just going to treat this like, the dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about. This is a problem. Yeah. You have been dishonest with me. You have broken trust. And
Isn't this romantic? This is so romantic. This is the stuff that just makes me go, that's the man I want. It's like, Jesus.
You've got to earn that back, and you got to take care of business.
Yeah. Oh my God. Keep moving.
you gotta get with the courts. You got to figure something out, because there's a reason why he's $100,000 behind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That I don't know what it is, and we don't have time to unpack that. But I also think marriage counseling. I would, if I were you, I would push it.
Forget marriage counseling right now.
I have have recently gotten engaged, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. I found out that my fiance is about $250,000 in debt. He makes about $90,000 a year, but $47,000 of that goes to his ex-wife for child support and maintenance.
Okay, so he makes $90,000, about half of it. So that means he has minor children. If he's paying, there's alimony, but if he's paying for children, chances are they're minor children.
I've never been in debt, and I honestly don't know where we would even start to get out of this debt.
Did he not tell her this before he proposed to her? She's sounding like she's very surprised. And the fact that she's out of debt and he has debt, which isn't really the issue. Like, with me, that isn't so much the issue. The issue is, did he just surprise her and say, "Oh, honey, marry me," but then he surprises her and says, "By the way, I'm $250,000 in debt." Now, just something to think about. There are situations where asking for forgiveness can be easier than asking for permission, but in this particular call, from what I can sense so far, I'm going to say he probably should have told her first about the debt, especially if there are minor kids involved.
Mm-hmm. What do you make a year?
I make about $26,000 a year, and I work in the gig economy.
What's the gig economy? So that's $26,000? That's it? Well, whatever the gig economy is $26,000 isn't a lot. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you guys?
I'm 36 and he's 38.
And what is his debt from?
It's basically from the divorce. He owes about $70,000 to his ex-wife, $45,000 on a vehicle that he turned in for a voluntary repossession, $30,000 to her lawyer and his lawyer, and about $75,000 in credit card debt.
Man, he got his butt whipped.
Damn. Oh my God. How many of you thinking right now it would just been easier if she had said he has $250,000 in student loans? That would just, like, okay, we just kind of rolled our eyes. Been there, done that, okay? Wow. Is there any category that did not get hit?
Yes, he did.
His lawyer was awful.
Yes.
He ends up paying everything.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're getting off, well, not getting off track, but this is about fiance didn't tell me. So he didn't tell her any of this before he proposed to her. That's where the problem is. And honestly, she doesn't, she makes pennies. She's only making $26,000 in her 30s. I won't say anything about motivation, okay? Because I'm certainly no rich cat, in the mid-60s, low 60s, mid-60s with my little part-time job. But I don't know. There's just, I'm not going to comment about her motivation, because I don't know her situation, okay? But $26,000, that's not very much, okay? Clearly. She would not be able to afford rent by herself. And I can already tell you that I hope this guy isn't choosing her because he sees her as vulnerable, so to speak, because she doesn't make much money, that it's some sort of entrapment thing. I know maybe it's the worst part of me thinking, but I just hope that, well, let's hear more of the call.
Absolutely ended up paying everything. Whenever the divorce went through, he was making about $125,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And
why does he not make that now?
We went through the flood in 2016, and he lost his job, I lost my job, and so he's gotten back. He works in the plants. He's gotten back to working, but he had to go with a different company, and they offered him $5 less an hour.
Why? The other company never reopened?
Right.
Okay. What does he do?
He works, he's a heat treater in the plants here in Louisiana.
Okay. All right.
So
I don't know much about child support for minors. It definitely sounds like he has minor children. So I'm just going to assume he does. Okay. If they're both in their 30s, it's just doing the math and numbers. Okay. He definitely has minor children. I don't know much about child support for minor children, but I'm wondering if it was a legitimate, he got laid off, yada, yada. That's all legitimate. I would think a child support court could possibly adjust that payment.
he's working 80 hours a week.
The other part of the story I want to get straight in my head. It sounded like you didn't know how much debt he had until after you were engaged.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I said. Snaps. Deet, deet. Okay. Fiance didn't tell me about that. She did not know. She did not know.
Yes.
Why?
I was not aware.
Dave, this is not a hard. This is not a hard. What is it? It's not a hard answer to come up with. The reason he didn't tell her is she would have put on her Nike running sneakers and headed out in the other direction. She may be low income. Okay, 26,000 a year at 32,000. Excuse me, 32 years old and 26,000 a year. Okay, in her 30s. Okay, I don't know what the low income threshold is, but I mean that's not a lot of money. It may not be considered low income per se if she doesn't have kids and stuff, but that's definitely not a lot of money.
He was not very smart, and I didn't ask him about his debt.
Bingo. You gotta be open. You can't bring surprises. Oh, and by the way, I owe this. Okay. You can't spring surprises. I would, my $110,000 student loan until it was forgiven in 2022, I would have absolutely made sure that, if I'm interested in somebody, they're going to know about it. They're going to know about it long before they even start getting serious about me. I had to. It has to be out there on the table. So, I don't surprise anybody with it. He clearly did not tell her about it. And that to me is the bigger problem than the debt itself. Yeah, the debt is a problem, but the even bigger problem is his lack of coming forward. You don't have that much debt and just overlook it.
I've never had debt. It didn't cross my mind.
Well, it should have crossed his.
Yes.
It did cross his. It crossed his many, many times. It absolutely crossed his mind. He didn't want to say it.
That you should have had this information prior to making a commitment to marriage.
That type of debt, you should have had the information probably within, a month of getting serious and dating each other. I mean, there's no timeline, and I understand, but just that, before we go tripping off into the tulips and really get serious, that's something she should have known about, before that he invested or she invested whatever amount of time. It's just courteous. I would have never hidden my student loan from anybody. I'd be quite open about it.
Yes.
That's kind of a problem, like he was hiding it.
Okay.
That bothers me more than the debt right this moment.
Every now and then, I think Dave Ramsey and I are on the exact same. We on the same track, exactly. As a matter of fact, if there's a breakup, most of the time I would say, "Run, lady, run." In this case, it's even less about the debt and more about the dishonesty of it.
And so, what's his attitude about the debt?
He really hasn't been paying anything towards it.
Run. Galloping. Horses galloping away quickly. Run. Don't stop. Don't take a water break. Right there. Right there. You have your answer. Everything we need to know.
And I just don't want to start a marriage. Now that I know about the debt, I can accept that. Before we actually set a date to get married, I want to know that we are on a plan to get this paid off.
You are not on a plan to get it paid off. And the bigger issue is he didn't tell you before. I've said it in other videos, okay? These people with the debt that they don't want to tell the other person about because they want to perhaps give the other person time to fall in love. Didn't I just do one not too long ago about somebody who had a student loan debt that was ridiculously high? Okay, like in the $250,000 range also. And you know, the guy didn't find out about her debt. I do a lot of these videos, so it gets confusing, okay? But it was like, well, they're gonna, it was the gal who had a lot of debt. The guy called in and he said to Dave, you know, he tells Dave, what should he do? Of course, if, you know, the guy's told, yeah, go ahead, marry her, you know? And but she didn't tell him about the debt until after the guy, you know, basically fell in love with her. Okay. So I think that's the same situation here. The guy's basically not going to say anything, wants her to fall in love. But the problem is money can always be worked through between two people who absolutely love each other. Money can be dealt with. Okay. Money can be dealt with, but not telling her until after, you know, they've got the wedding date on the calendar. And this is a lesson she's going to learn also is, you know, not everybody has the best intentions.
There you go. And that he believes in that plan and is committed fully to that plan.
Yes.
If he is, for whatever reason, has given up hope and it feels like he's stuck, he's just going to stay there, or he just doesn't care or whatever about the debt, if for whatever reason he's just going to wallow in this, that's a deal breaker.
Okay.
Yes. And for some people, it would have been deal breaker just with, you didn't tell me about the debt till all this time. Now you put that on top of, you didn't tell me about the debt until all of this time has passed and you're not doing anything active to get out of the debt. So now you got a double deal breaker. That's the problem. It's not actually the debt, although it potentially it could be. She only makes 26. Okay. So that could be, but I genuinely believe, you know, if there's really true love, yada, yada, and all that stuff. Okay. And both people are committed to making it work, it can work, but you need to have both people committed, right?
It's not the debt.
Exactly.
I wouldn't tell you to not marry him over the debt, but I would tell you to not marry him over lying about it, or not marry him over the fact that he wants to just stay in it, because you're not going to be, you know, it's a long life full of hell for you.
Remember what I have said. We tend to cause our own debt issues. Most of our money issues are caused by us. Now then, let's say she has a child with him. He's already got a child or two from another marriage. Now she chooses to have a child with him. Does she really want to have a kid with a man who's already got kids to raise? Now we're not talking older kids. We're talking minors. Okay. Does she really want to marry a man with kids that he's got already to raise from another relationship, which isn't even so much the problem as it is, again, he comes with $250,000 in debt that was hidden. He wasn't upfront and said, look, you know, this is the situation. This is my debt. I'm going to work a job and a half to get, you know, this done. I don't expect to lay it all on your feet, because what she's going to find if she marries this guy, and I hope she didn't. Okay. In this case, I don't think she should marry, but if she did, and she has a kid with him, look at the person's history. Look at the person's history. How motivated has he been to get out of this debt? And the way he treats that situation, he's going to bring those habits into the new relationship. So does she really want now to be wife number 2, which isn't the problem? All right. That's not the problem, but to a guy with $250,000 in debt he didn't tell her about, and he's not motivated to do anything about. So she would be causing this problem herself. Like I said, most of our financial problems are caused by our own actions. The red flags are already there. We just choose to ignore them because it interferes with our fairy tale that we were hoping for.
Okay.
If you think about it, 10 years, 15 years from now, you're still wallowing in this stuff. You're not going to be okay with that.
No, that's what I absolutely don't want to do.
Yeah.
With a child.
And so, as long, and if he's not going to be all in, like we live on nothing, and
does she want to live on nothing? Is this, see, that's the problem with not telling her. You haven't given her time to think about, is this a decision is this a situation she wants to step into? Is she willing to live on nothing? Is she willing to? Maybe she says, look, I only make $26,000 a year. I'm debt free. I would like to know her living arrangement, like, $26,000 a year trying to support a 1-bedroom apartment. I think that would be tough. But again, that aside, she is debt free. Okay. So whatever her living arrangement is, it's working. He's got to give her a chance to think about, am I willing to eat beans and rice for possibly several years? He comes with a house. He's bought the house already. He's sitting on $250,000 for a house.
He probably needs to go back to court and adjust some stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think he owes $45,000 on the repo. I think that's what he owed on the car at the time they repoed it.
It was $70,000 he owed when they repoed it.
$70,000?
Oh, jeez. Run. Girl, I will donate the shoes. Give me your address. I will donate shoes. We will start a GoFundMe. I will donate the shoes. Because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, $45,000? I'm like, because I was thinking the same thing. Because, dear God, sweet Jesus. Which also shows he has no spending acumen. Okay, he's not very wise at it.
What was he driving?
A Suburban, which I think is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, and he rolled some negative equity into that to get to there.
Yes.
Girl, don't marry this guy. I know it's been 5 years, but if you happen to see this, okay, all right, don't marry this guy. I would tell or if it were reversed. Look, here's the reality. If I owed that much money and I was unmotivated and I hid that debt from you and we were signed off for a wedding date, I would expect you to dump my ass. I would. I'd expect you to say, look, Carrie, if you had been upfront with me all this time and had told me about it, and I knew, and I saw you worky to get out of debt, to really, lower the bill, you would have, I would have been able to see that you were doing something. But in this case, you've shown me everything that I need to know. Nope. He's going to drain through what little income she makes. Because remember, she really doesn't make that much. She makes 26.
Okay. Yeah. And so the $45,000 is the difference. Okay, they'll settle that for pennies on the dollar. You can probably settle that for $10,000, but the rest of the stuff, I don't know. I mean, the ex-wife thing, I don't know what you're going to do with that. How in the world he ends up owing her and these two attorneys? Wow.
And if these kids, these kids are definitely minors. He's like 34, 36. Okay, these kids are definitely minors. Okay, that means continually going back to court to get adjustments. Continually going back to court. Is this what she wants? It's easier when they're older, because when they're older, they become legal adults. But when they're minors, and that's okay to have to deal with that. But if you're going to deal with that, you want the best guy possible. You want the guy that's responsible, takes care of his children, okay? You want a guy that shows that. Again, it is not because even of the debt. It's how he went about presenting the debt. It's what he's shown in lack of motivation. It's what he's shown in spending. A guy in this situation should not be driving a $70,000 car, which clearly he probably rolled a car into a car. There's a lot of that going on lately, people. See, even 5 years ago, if I told you this video just played yesterday, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's all current events.
You may be able to settle those with lump sums. I mean, you might walk up to her and say, here's a check for $30 if you'll go away.
Oh, hell no. No, she ain't got to do that. She got more to gain by, especially with minor children.
And she might take it, but you'd have to have the $30,000 is what I'm talking about here, not $30. And so, you're going to have to put some money together here, and that means both of you are going to have to get your incomes up, and you both have to have a high desire to get out of money.
Does she want to help him through all this? Is this where she wants to put her energy? And like I said, the big concern for me is if she chooses to have a child with him. The financial debt he's already in, attach it to another child. And then God help her if they get divorced. She's not going to see a dime.
Or to get out of debt and to make more money to do that. You have to both have this thing. And it's still going to take you a few years. I mean, if you guys just go bananas, it's going to take you a few years.
Not a few years, Mr. Ramsey. Several years.
So that's what you're facing. And but the thing is, folks, those of you dating out there, it is not a deal breaker. As far as I'm concerned, it can be for you. You can decide what you want to do. It's your life. But I don't tell people to not to get married over debt. I do tell them to not get married over the decision to stay in debt when you don't want to stay in debt. Because that's going to be, when you can't be in agreement on money before you get married, when money is the number one cause of divorce, we can highly predict that your marriage is not going to last.
I would completely agree with that.
If the number one cause of divorce you don't agree on, guess what? You're going to get divorced. I mean, it's a fairly simple equation here.
So I know that I'm a single mom with 3 children, and I know I have the right to file for child support.
People, we already need the fan out. The tea is already hot. Single mom, 3 kids. Okay. Do we think they're all from the same father? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, Lord. Okay, here we go.
On my ex-boyfriend. But I just want to know if it is the more...
No, he's an ex-boyfriend. I would have guessed any day she knew how to pick him right.
Moral thing to do, or the godly thing to do in this situation. I've never filed for child support.
Okay, stop. She's going too fast for me, especially on a Monday night, 8:30. She's questioning if it's the moral thing or the godly thing to do to go after her illegal boyfriend for child support, but she didn't question if it was the morally or the godly thing to do to have a kid with somebody who was not considered a legal citizen of the United States or was not here legally. And because he was not here legally, probably couldn't afford to pay for the kid anyways. After all, he is illegally here. I'm not referring to party, Democrat, Republican. I'm not referring to that. I'm just keeping it to the, you're either here legally or you're here not. That's where I'm beginning and ending. Okay. That's my alpha and omega here. Okay. So, but she doesn't question the moral stance of that. She only questions it after the baby event has occurred. Smart lady, not.
I've had children with him for 5.5 years. And he has never paid except for maybe like 6 payments just in cash, just random payments. But
she can't be this dumb. She can't be this dumb. Maybe she can. You know that story I did on the people who bought the RV? They bought a $42,000 RV, then they bought a $58,000 truck to pull the RV. And they lost their apartment in the process because then they didn't have the money to pay for the apartment. I guess people can be this dumb. I mean, I think of the dumb things I've done. Oh, please tell me I didn't sink this low, even though I know I made my mistake, sweet Jesus.
He's never, other than about 6 payments of a couple $100s, he's never paid me anything for the children.
And so she chose to have multiple children with him. Remember what I said, people. Of course, you can watch this from the description box uninterrupted, which would kill the whole purpose of watching a commentary channel. But I understand and respect you if you choose to. Remember when I've said to you guys, and I've said it over and over on this channel, 2 things. 1, is there a point where we have to take personal responsibility? Where we can't say that we didn't know. 5 years with this dude, you knew he was illegal. You kept popping kid after kid after kid. I gather these 3 kids are all from her. At some point, she is the stupid one. She was probably the stupid one from the beginning if she knew he was illegal, and I'm sure she did. But I'll even give gratis to the first kid. But then you keep popping out kids with him. So at some point, we must embrace. We must embrace that we are responsible for continuing our misery. Right? And then the other thing you've heard me say on this channel over and over is Who causes our financial misery? How many stories have we heard that I battled cancer and I went broke and that's why I'm calling Dave Ramsey? No, that's not what we hear. What we hear is, oh, I made these continuously bad decisions financially and now I'm calling Dave Ramsey. These are the calls that we get. Dave Ramsey gives me comfort on one thing. I am less concerned about medical bills in my old age than I am about making stupid financial decisions. So at some point, she has to hold responsibility. And I would say after the first kid. Technically, I could really say before the first kid. She knew he was illegal. But let's just assume we didn't know. We'll just pretend. The first kid, I'll forgive. You pull out, you pop out a few more. Nah.
And I'm hesitant in filing support on him because, number one, he's an undocumented immigrant. So I'm afraid he will get in trouble or he will get found out and get in trouble with ICE for working under a false identity.
This woman is a witch. This woman is, I don't know whether she's stupid, and I don't say that lightly, but here I can say it very confidently. She's a witch. She's evil. Why? Because she knows darn well the situation she put herself and her children into. She knows who she procreated with. I think these are all his kids. She knows. I'm going to give her credit, though, at least from what I can tell, it's all from one man. Okay? She darn well knows who she procreated with. And now she wants to use that against him to try to get him to pay. Well, it's going to be tough getting him to pay if he winds up being shipped back, right?
I'm not sure that he still does, but I know he has a job. And so he may still be working under a false name.
And she will use that against him. Men, be careful of women like this. These women are evil. They will use the information they know about you against you. This would be more of a vindictive move than it would be a move because she really cares about, the welfare of the children. She gave a crap about the welfare of the kids. She wouldn't pick this dude to have 3 kids with. There are plenty of messed up American citizen men and men who are legally here in the country that she could have this sordid life with.
And then the other reason I'm scared about filing for support on him is just the fact that I kind of told him to get out of my children's and my life because he's highly emotionally abusive. And so I kind of feel like how this is just not right for me to file for support if I basically told him to exit our lives.
She's stupid. All right, I'm going to say something that might be triggering, and that's okay. It's good to have a little trigger on this channel. You don't have to agree with me all the time. Matter of fact, if you agree with me all the time, there's probably something wrong. When a woman wants to claim that a man is abusive only after she's had 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids with him, then she wants to scream that he was abusive, you're going to have to show me some serious ass evidence to get me to believe that. Because I believe that a woman has a duty to make logical decisions on who she's going to procreate with. Once a man has shown you that he is abusive, you don't keep procreating. I understand what all the documentation say about, abuse, yada, yada. Okay, I'm 56. Trust me, I've heard it. The problem I have is when a woman wants to throw out the he's abusive card, but he wasn't so abusive that you couldn't procreate with him once, twice, 3 times. He wasn't so abusive that you looked at him and said, that's the man I want to procreate with, not once, twice, but 3 times. He wasn't so abusive that when things were going great, you didn't have a need to call ICE. You weren't going to use the fact that he has an alias against him or he's got a job or whatnot. But now that you're having to look back on the god-awful, crappy decisions you made, all morality aside, because I don't judge people's morality there. It's not my place to judge, okay? But now you want to claim he's abusive.
And the third thing, the reason that I'm hesitant in asking for support from him is that when I wanted to add have a sibling for our daughter, we were. I told him, will you please help me to have a sibling for our daughter?
Will you please help me, you abusive man? You abusive man that mistreats me. Would you please help me have a sibling for our daughter, because you are so abusive and you're so effed up that I may call ICE on you and I may report you because you are so abusive. But please give me another daughter. This lady, if I were on a jury, this is one of those cases, put my ass on the jury. Put me on the jury. I will lie to get on the jury. Put me on the jury because... No, I did not say I would lie to get on jury. I would like to take that statement back for all legal purposes. This is the type of jury that I would love to sit in on. Because it's women like this that trash good men. It is women like this that will take a good guy and do everything she can in the heart of her being woman and her femininity, and will do everything she can to destroy an otherwise good man, to destroy his career, to destroy his reputation. And she wants to destroy it because it's not going the way she wanted, even though she was a major game player in the entire thing. You could never convince me on a jury that this man was so abusive when you asked to have him give you another daughter. That if I was even leaning towards, okay, maybe he's abusive, and as soon as I heard that, I'd be like, get out of here.
And he's like, well, sure, but I can't pay for that, right? And because I can't even pay for our daughter, so I'm not going to pay anything, and so I'll help you as long as you're cool with me not paying anything. And I was like, oh, absolutely, that's totally fine.
But this man is so abusive. Yes. But what happened was she was in this for herself. And the real story behind all this is she took advantage of the fact that he was an illegal immigrant. That's what she did. She took advantage of it. She knew exactly what she was getting into.
Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Well, that was back when my income was really good. But
so he wasn't abusive when her income was good. But now do you see, people, where all this starts to go? Her life isn't going the way it thought. Now she wants him to pay up. And all those promises she gave the illegal immigrant boyfriend, she's going to dismiss all that now, and she's going to change to abuse. Ladies, if you ever get to sit on a jury on something like this, this is why you got to listen to the whole story. It's why we have to listen to the whole freaking story, because you start to put the pieces together, you're like, oh, no. I don't buy he was abusive at all, but I do buy that he was truly that she was a manipulator, and she's still manipulating. That's what I'm buying. This, people, and if you're not, if you are familiar with my channel, I tend to defend men very much so. Okay? Not saying I don't defend women, and I do defend women, all right? But I defend men in areas that I think women tend to jump at and automatically assume guilt. Automatically assume that a guy is not competent. Automatically assume that, well, because it's a guy, that they can't possibly be telling the truth. No. And for those who may not be familiar with this channel, I am 56 years old. My father should have gotten custody of all four of us girls. All four of us girls my father should have had full custody of all four of his girls. And because that has never left me, it permanently changed and shapes the way I view men. Now, does this mean I think all men are good men? No, it does not. Absolutely not. But what it does mean in areas where people are quick to judge and say, oh, this guy's horrible. Okay, we really need to know the whole story. And if you listen to this woman's story, it's all shaped to what benefits her. It's not shaped to tell the truth. I told you, if I hadn't been a teacher, I would have gone into law and I would have defended men. Absolutely no doubt.
But I'm a little broke now, and basically having to take out loans to get groceries and things like that.
And hence, that is where now she's going to concoct the story that he's abusive.
And so I'm just like, what do I do? But I don't want to do the wrong thing just because I can't get groceries either.
Oh, no, she's already doing the wrong thing. She's now manipulating it. She's concocting a story. I hope Dave Ramsey does not buy. Dave, I'm going to look straight into the camera. I will be very disappointed in you, especially because you're a man. If you believe her story of this illegal boyfriend is abusive. Because here's what's interesting. She hasn't said a darned thing of what he's done that is abusive other than her acceptance that he doesn't have to worry about paying child support and all of that. Because she wanted multiple kids, yada, yada.
So I just need your advice.
Well, there's so much going on here.
Rarely do we see Dave at a loss for words.
Number one, stop having children with people who don't support them.
Like people who can't support them. Illegal immigrants, probably not the best people to have children with.
And that you're not married to. And that you're not married to. Okay? You shouldn't have asked my advice if you didn't want it, but you need to stop doing that. Okay? Because you got yourself
open to everyone, day and night.
Into a mess, obviously.
Right.
And this is a bad dude.
Oh, don't go there, Dave.
Okay? He's here illegally. He's an abusive dude.
What has she said that's made him abusive? Anybody heard any evidence? Does he beat the children? Have we heard that? Does he stalk them? Have we heard that? Does he make harassing phone calls to her? What I've heard is she chose to procreate with someone that she darn well knew did not have the legal means, the financial means to take care of the children she chose to procreate with. That in and of itself, that decision was her decision. In fact, if you really want to say who has the power in this relationship, she does. She does. She's the citizen. She took advantage of him. You want to see who I think the actual abuser is? Yeah.
And you told him to stay away. And
that telling him to stay away is a great way to concoct a story to tell the police later on. Well, I told him to stay away from me. I told him the children and I are not safe. When did you tell him to stay away? Certainly not the time when you were in bed together, right? You didn't need to stay away then. It wasn't scary then. I'm pretty smart. I'm not saying these things don't happen after people have kids and, some abuse appears or something. But in this particular case, the whole dynamic, the power is with her. She took advantage of someone who was less powerful. And now she wants to scream abuse. And I'm not saying this lightly, folks. If she really had, told a compelling story of abuse, I'd go, okay, sound like he no good.
I don't even want to know the details. You told him you wanted to have another kid, but you'd pay for it. Right?
Right.
And she wants to question morality. For a woman who sits and says, I would like to question morality, and if I am doing everything just right, she sure as hell doesn't seem to have a problem sleeping around, unmarried, with people who aren't citizens. So, and the only reason I say that is when you're with someone who's illegal, it's kind of hard to get the law to back you up. They may ship him back out. As far as Venezuela. Right? She's messed up in the head as far as her ability to question what's moral, what's not. But the one thing she doesn't seem to question is her own character.
Okay. So it sounds like it's more hassle than it's worth. It sounds like certainly for one of them, you told him not, you wouldn't charge him, right?
And that isn't a, what is it? What she said? She says she wanted to know if this was the spiritually and morally correct thing to do. And she's basically just buying a kid, paying for some seed, basically, because she wanted another child so badly. And this was all fine, and he was all fine until she stopped making the money that she once had. And then all of a sudden, everything became not so fine. Then he became abusive.
Right.
I mean, you have a deal on that. You have to keep your word on that. I guess keeping your word comes into this discussion.
Hard to keep a word on a woman who will procreate multiple times without thinking too shitty thoughts about who she's doing it with.
But I mean, here's the thing: what we need to be concerned about is what is best for the children, and what's best for the children is for you to get a career that's going, and him to not be around, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
She didn't ever generally care about what's best for the children. She didn't. She never cared about what was best for the children. She thought about what was best for her. She wanted to have kids. I actually believe that she probably did. But I also believe she sees them to some extent as toys, bargaining chips. If you're a guy, this is the type of woman you want to stay far, far away from. You're much better off dating someone who's had 2 bankruptcies and used to be a shopping addict. But much better person. And I mean that. This is a very manipulative woman. This is the woman that will get on a freaking jury stand and lie. She will lie, lie, lie. She will bring on the tears. This is the type of woman that would do this. She has the upper hand because she is the citizen. This is the type of woman. It would serve her right to not get a dime. And I don't think she probably will be able to. I just feel bad for the kids, though. This is the type of woman who doesn't deserve to be a parent.
So I think it's just the fact that things are tight is the only reason you're considering this, and it.
Thank you. Snaps for me. But the part that he's forgetting is it's also why she's now calling him abusive.
It's making you try to look past some of all these other negatives that you did list out very thoroughly.
No, I disagree. She did not list out the negatives thoroughly. Where did I hear once that he smacked her? Where did I hear once that he just as made their life a living hell so horrible that she had to have another kid with him? See, my sympathy drops drastically when you choose to procreate with someone that you already supposedly know and you say is abusive, and yet you choose to keep doing it. Short of it being rape, which is a whole different ball game. We ain't going to go there. Short of it being that, now it's a crime. Prosecutable, yada, yada. But short of you being able to mouth those words, these are choices that you make, and you have to now live with those choices.
So you got a pretty long list of negatives down the list on reasons to not do this.
And I've given you, hopefully, my family audience, a whole list as to why men need to never hook up with a woman like this. This is a woman who will lie. She'll say to you to your face what you want, but really she's conniving. She's manipulative. She's a snake in the grass.
99% of the time, someone calls up with this. Actually, when I saw on the screen, file for child support question, mark, that's not what's on my screen waiting on, you to come up. I immediately go, well, of course, the guy had kids, he ought to pay for the kids. It's kind of like basic ethics, basic morality.
Right.
You ought to take care of your own dadgum children. But this is not a guy who takes care of anybody.
But she chose him. I will agree. He's not going to take care of anybody, but He's an illegal immigrant. And it sounds like he's made that pretty clear to her. And it sounds like she said, okay, no problem. Procreate. Procreate again. He's not doing anything manipulative. If I tell you something, if I say to you, look, I'm broke. I can give you the seed, but I can't pay for it. And you look at me and you say, oh, no, don't worry about it. That's fine. That doesn't make me an awful person. In fact, I was honest and I told you I'm illegal. I told you I can't pay for it. I'll try to pay a dime or two when I can, but I really can't pay for anything. And then because I follow through on that, it doesn't make me a schmuck.
Right, exactly.
Oh yes, she is the victim here.
He's a taker, not a giver.
And what the hell is she?
And so, and you've got to commit in your life, for the sake of your current 3 children, to not let this pattern continue in your life, right?
Oh, it's been 4 years. She's popped out another kid.